And we are back again with another episode of We Got That Smoke with none other than Dr. John Henry Clarke.
Now, I'm going to show you what they did that you still got to do until you stop. Until you do it, you are jiving about independence, about freedom. A Japanese educator called in the youth of Japan and told them what had happened. And he sent them to the leading schools of the world, to get that information, get that technology. And if they smear that body waste in your face, apologize for having your face in the way. So he sent them to MIT. They went to military schools in the United States and wouldn't even let a black person sweep the floor. 2/3 of all the field officers based in America in the Pacific War were trained in America. Every field officer practice training. Virginia Military Academy was the main trainer. Black men is not even there, even now. My main point is that by 1905, the Japanese had learned enough to take on a European nation. And when the Russians started messing with them, they started kicking butt. And they defeated them. Right. And this shocked Europe so much until they began to propagate something called the Yellow Danger. This beginning in the basis of anti-Asianism manifests itself in the stereotypes in the movie. A Japanese detective called Mr. Moto, Fu Manchu, Johnny Chan. And what do we have? That control over the movies. All of this is global white supremacy. That control and colonization of the Bible. They're sitting down Sunday school lesson with all white angels. Every single thing that came out of the European mind was meant to facilitate his control over the world. He's got no hesitation about it, and he's got no apologies. You buying hook, line, and sinker. You buying his concept. All religion is good when it is practiced good. All religion can be bad, but all religion that I know of is used for one people to control another people. Because they killed the spirituality in the religion itself. The missionaries were handmade. It's all colonialism. And they still are. The African trained by the missionary began to react. So global white supremacy was manifesting itself in the commerce of the world of that day. The Caribbean islands now realize that while their independence, their emancipation came 30 years before Black America, their emancipation was a faith, and ours was a faith. And when you boasted, all you're saying is my bakery came before your bakery. So many of them, the rebels, went back to the hills. The best example is uprising in Jamaica, 1865, Moret Bay. George Gordon in that crowd. Now, in the United States, because of the pressure, we had produced the greatest line of intellect of any people living outside of Africa. The climate was cold in New England. You could only work a slave 6 months a year. So you begin to have slave carpenters, slave craftsmen. You would farm him out. Be an industrial slave. They made a little money on the side. They could buy their way out of indentitude. It wasn't quite as difficult. They began to read, write, run newspapers. Frederick Douglass escaped into this group. Yet the concept of getting back to Africa was prevalent. 5,000 Africans in this country had fought with the British against American independence, an incident left out of history. After the British lost the war, they had to get rid of them. So the British sent them to Canada and to Nova Scotia. Global white supremacy is now manifesting itself in the failure to acknowledge that every American citizen is a citizen. If you're a citizen, you need no civil rights movement and no civil rights action. The fact that you need it proves that they have not acknowledged you as a citizen. In a nation of immigrants, we are the immigrants against our will. We are the only immigrants who are invited here. Right. The nature of the invitation will not be discussed here. They were anxious to get us here. We had an affirmative action program waiting for us. No unemployment. No pay either. We transformed this nation. My main point is that the first half of this 19th century, we were fighting against global white supremacy in the Back to Africa movement that had started during the American Revolution. The movement to settle Liberia, 1847, with Martin Delaney and the Jamaican Campbell going out to what is now Nigeria to search for a place. All of this was a reaction against global white supremacy. A lady in Nigeria who had been in the slave trade discovered that she was not a labor contractor and other people were not returning. She began to fight against the slave trade. She began to fight against other Africans in the slave trade. Her name was Madame Tanabu. And when she continued her fight, not only to get out of it herself, but to fight everybody in the trade. Her husband had died, and there was a man pursuing her hand. And she told this man, I cannot marry you now because I have men's work to do and I do not have time to be a woman. She fought every king in the slave trade. All right. And when she had removed the last king from his throne, she turned to the man pursuing her hand and said that I am a woman now, I'll accept your offer.